All right. So if you guys watched the second episode, you know that the end got cut off as far as video goes. Sorry, but...
We're still trying to figure this out. We're in law school, have bachelor's degrees, can't figure out how to record a video.
But here we go. Round 3. Ditch that.
No, I like it. I'm going to keep it. If you listen to part 2, you know that Hayley hates that I, pound my hands on the table. This is kind of a way to help with that.
We've noticed that, I lean back, he leans forward. We're working on the...
It's fun, guys. Start a podcast. You'll learn things you never, knew to care about.
It's great. But anyway, welcome to Lawless, episode 3. We're making it, man. Episode 3, we are getting
back to back. We're doing them one right after the other.
Oh, hence the reason that we look the same.
Yeah, so. I just noticed that we're wearing the same clothes, so I'm like, I feel like we should be transparent that we just finished number 2.
If you
didn't
like this aesthetic the first time, sorry, here we go again. But in case you're watching the video and don't like the aesthetic, it's available on the podcast app if you've got...
Yeah, and then you don't have to look at us.
And you don't have to look at us, so you're welcome. There you go. Pro tip from us. From me to you. All right. So this podcast is not going to be super structured, and I like the idea of that. I feel like I just want to just kind of sit down and chat.
Yeah, Hayley's really good at rambling about kind of nonsense, and so she wanted to incorporate that into the podcast. So
even when it's not a straight up dig, it's still a dig. So thank you, but we're going to turn this into a good thing, and I'm just going to pepper you with questions.
So now it's an interrogation. Okay.
So being an interrogation, here we go. So I want to hear about this new, prospective job of yours.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Mr. Christian has been interviewing for this job, and I'm super excited for him.
I have been. So I've been interviewing with Salt Lake City's attorney's office, and essentially what they do... Salt Lake City's kind of interesting because they're a city. I mean, it's the capital of Utah, but they're kind of run like a corporation. So essentially what the Salt Lake City Attorney's Office does is they're basically in-house counsel for a corporation, and that corporation just happens to be the city.
Okay.
So if the city council or the mayor have a question about, can I constitutionally do this?
Yeah.
And then the attorney's office will kind of draft a memo and say, yes, you can do it because XYZ, or no, you can't do it because so on.
Fair enough.
And then the other thing that they do really big is people love to sue the government because the government has money.
Fun fact.
Yeah, people love it. You slip on the sidewalk, people think they can sue the city. Generally, you can't, FYI. But they defend the city from lawsuits.
Okay.
So it's kind of fun for me, and it's kind of... I didn't really realize it when I first applied that it was exactly what I wanted to do. But the big thing for me is I love constitutional law. Government is my thing. I'm super passionate about it. It just interests me. But my whole life I've kind of thought, that's nice, but, being a constitutional lawyer, you're probably not going to make that much money, or you're going to end up being a professor. And so I thought, I'll go into civil litigation instead. Corporations suing each other, people suing corporations. And then I kind of learned about this job. And I applied for it, and the more that I talked about it, the more that I looked into it, I realized this is kind of the perfect avenue for me because I get to work in government, but I also get to do civil law.
Yeah.
And depending, if eventually I go into a private sector suing governments, then I could potentially make a lot of money. And so I had my first interview this last Thursday. It was fun.
That's
I met
exciting,
with,
though.
2 attorneys. Yeah, they were super nice.
You gotta tell us all how it was. I haven't had an interview or anything like that in law school yet.
Super nerve-wracking. So you walk in, the University of Utah does on-campus interviews, which is some employers get to come in and interview you on campus. And so after constitutional law on Thursday, I went in, did this interview. It was 20 minutes. You sit down, they have your resume. We didn't have a lot of time, so they just asked me a few questions about my resume, why I wanted to do the job, and then they explained the positions they had and which one I wanted to do. Yeah. Basically, one of them is water rights, because here in Utah, we don't have water. We're always fighting with Colorado and Arizona over how much water we can pull out of the Colorado River. Super enlightening stuff. And so that was one of the positions. And the other one was just kind of a general, wherever we need you, depending on what we're getting sued for or what the council needs, we'll help with that. And that's what I wanted to do. So I told them that, we said our goodbyes, everything went well, and then I got a call the next day saying that I now have another interview this upcoming Thursday with the deputy city attorney at City Hall.
Best.
So
nerve-wracking, though.
Yeah, a little nerve-wracking. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think it's just this interview, and then if they like me, then yes, and if they don't, then no. But yeah, I'm excited.
So excited for you. There's a train passing by, though, so sorry if you guys get to hear that. That's super awesome, though. That makes me so happy for you. I have not had an interview yet, but that makes me, like, a little nervous, a little excited. It's pretty cool.
It was a lot less nerve-wracking just because, I don't know, interviews are always kind of intimidating, but at the same time, they're just people. Mm-hmm. And, like, they just want to know if you're good for the job. And, you know, if you treat it more like a conversation than an interrogation, I feel like it goes well. Like, we basically just had a conversation over what I was interested in and how, like, it would work for them. If you go into it kind of like, you know, they ask you a question and you give a couple-word answer and then they ask another question, you're going to be scared, you know, S-less the whole time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. Just, you got to make it a conversation.
That's pretty sweet. It's super interesting hearing you talk about being interested in that job because I think I'm always excited for people when they find what they're interested in, but also kind of shocked that, like, someone could be interested in that. And then I'm not thinking about you when I say that.
She's like, Christian, that sounds boring as hell.
I mean, water rights, I don't know. Not piquing my interest. But I was leaving the gym a couple days ago and ran into one of our classmates. And I was like, hey, how's it going? How's life treating you? Blah, blah, blah. So we started talking about our classes this semester. He goes, oh, man, property law is the best. Yeah. I'm having so much fun. I love that class. It's exactly what I want to do. And I'm pretty sure my jaw hit the floor. I was all, what? That is the most boring class to me. I am so not interested in... No, it doesn't do anything for me. I was all, that is the least sexy class we have out of all of them. And
that's fair.
And so hearing someone so hyped about it, I was like, wow, differences are huge. Because then I said, well, I think like con law is my favorite class this semester. And he said, seriously, that's the worst.
Everyone hates con law, and I don't get that. Like, everyone.
Wow.
Everyone hates con law. And I think for a lot of people, it's just super confusing for them. But, like...
I guess I kind of get that.
Which I get, because it can be hard.
Yeah, I guess the government is so interesting to me, though, that I'm all, I love this stuff. Mm-hmm. But property...
Yeah, property that's the first person I've heard say that they like property.
Yeah, where he was crazy about it. And seeing him in class... Christian and I don't have the same property class. But, man, he is so involved in the discussions and is so pumped about it. And honestly, I want to be like, snaps for you, dude, because...
You go, Glenn Coco.
Yeah, I want to be like, wow. We need property lawyers. Like, thank you. And so, major props to this kid, because we're going to need you someday. Eventually, I'm going to want to, like, buy a house or something like that. Or, like, you know, my mom's going to die and I'm going to need someone to help me out with that. And so, I'm going to come to you. Would I ever want to do it myself? No. But I think that's what's so interesting to me about law schools. I feel like you really see the divide about what just like sparks people's interest and really gets people going. So that one kind of...
It is super weird. Like, no matter how old you get, no matter how many times it happens, like, it's super cool to see how the thing that you hate the most in the world is the thing that just makes someone's day. Like, that's what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And I mean, you do that all the time. You do that in high school and then college and then whatever, but it never ceases to amaze me. Also, side note, it really bugs me that this cable is white and your headphones are pink. Did this come with them?
Yeah. What color is...
Apple, we need to have a talk.
What color is yours?
I don't know, I just feel like it should be pink. Mine's black.
Maybe they'll only make them in white and black. And they were like, black wouldn't look good with the pink, so we'll go for the white. It matches the aesthetic. Comment down below if you don't like the fact that my headphone cord is white.
Yeah, does it? Anyway, sorry to distract. It was just really bugging me. This is what happens when we don't structure podcasts. Christian's ADHD.
But in that same vein, it then makes me wish that certain areas of law were more profitable. And I, as we're shouting people out, I want to say shout out to the people who are super like virtuoso when it comes to law school and their reasons behind it, because I love criminal law. Like, it is so interesting to me. But financially, especially like if you're thinking about being the breadwinner for your family, it's not as profitable as other areas. Like, sure, you can make a decent living off of it and be set, but...
Yeah, I think, like, if you're a prosecutor, it wouldn't be that great. But I mean, if you're defense and you're defending some of those drug
that?
lords and stuff, but then you gotta sleep at night knowing you're defending drug lords.
Yeah, so like this case that we had in Crim Law that I think is probably one of the most interesting ones we've ever read.
Oh boy, which one?
The guy who ran the crematory.
Oh, great.
This case, guys, I could not believe that this was real, and I'm hoping that someone has made some indie film about it or something, because it is absolutely bonkers. So, in a nutshell, this case is like, there's this guy, his dad essentially passes down this whole business, whatever. He's running a crematory on his property. He lives
like a crematorium, like where you burn people when they die.
Yeah, so he's living in this little small town on his property. He's got this building, his own house, whatever. So all of these different funeral homes are contracting with him, and they're like, okay, well, this family brought us this body. They want it cremated. We're going to give it to you. Cremate it for us. Give it back. Mind you, this guy has no license, isn't actually a certified cremator.
At the time, the state of Georgia knew that he didn't have a license, but they didn't really care. They weren't strictly regulating.
John's a good guy. He's fine.
And this was like a town of 500 people, super duper small town.
Tiny. And so this guy's, this is spoiling the end. The guy's machine breaks, and he's not able to burn the bodies the same way that you should anymore. And he doesn't have the money to fix it. Yeah. And so he's like, well, I gotta keep making money, so what am I gonna do? Well, I'll keep taking bodies and I'll stack them in my backyard.
And then he gave people the ashes. He would grind up limestone.
Huge ass, for those of you not watching the videos, huge asterisks around ashes. Yeah. Because
it's like limestone, and he just grinds up rocks and dirt and puts them into an urn and gives them to people.
Here's your grandma.
And no one ever questions them, because I guess you don't.
Because John's a good guy.
Well, and I guess when you get grandma's ashes, you don't go digging through them and be like, are these really grandma? So I understand how he got away with that.
Take someone's word for it, yeah.
Because you just leave the urn closed and you just do with it whatever you're gonna do. And a lot of people just bury it nowadays. So you get the urn with the ashes and then you bury it. So
this process is going on for a while. This guy is maintaining this system for a long time. And he finally gets discovered. Oh, so mind you, the city gets sent out to his property once. Was it because of a smell or because someone thought they saw something?
I think the first time was smell.
Okay, so the city gets sent out there and they're like, hey, John, are you doing anything wrong on this property? No? Okay, great, whatever. And they leave because they didn't have the proper warrant to go and search it or anything. So they're like, we'll take his word for it. Then some lady, walking around with her dog on the edge of his property and comes across a human skull. And she's all, something's not right here. So, of course, then they have reason to search his property. Guys, over 300 bodies were found in this fool's backyard.
That's just so wild to me. And keep in mind, so this was this guy's business, but it was also his home.
Yeah.
This guy was living there.
Running this business 8 to 5, then you go home at 5, make your dinner, and you're sitting in the kitchen, whipping up your food, looking out the window, dead bodies.
And the way that I imagine this, and I don't know if this is the way it was, but when I was reading this case, I really was imagining, those junkyards where you see, cars piled on each other.
But just bodies.
And, people come to, take pieces of cars to fix their car because it's cheaper. That's what I imagine with, bodies.
Yes.
This guy's backyard just literally had, bodies stacked on each other. And he would have, wooden crates, where he would shove a couple of bodies in.
300? Holy crap.
And there's actually a lake next to his property.
Oh.
And he threw some of the bodies in the lake, and the state of Georgia had to pay $5 million because when they finally found out about it and went in to start counting bodies and notifying families, they had to drain the entire lake behind his house to find all the bodies.
And they had to set up a morgue on his property to let people then come and identify their family members.
Again.
This was oh my gosh. This was nuts. Absolutely nuts. So reading cases like this makes me jazzed about crim law. I'm all, wow, that's awesome. But then, lucrative, not so much. But can you imagine being this fool's defense attorney, having to stand up in a court of law and be like, yes, I know that there were 300 bodies found in my client's backyard, but
yeah,
that would be tough.
And I think the guy ended up getting sentenced somewhere to do you have to cough?
A little sick.
Anyways, I think he ended up going to prison for like 7 to 10 years. I think he was just released, like either last year or a couple years ago.
And that's the crazy thing too, is this case isn't all that old. Like
no,
this happened.
Yeah, it was like early 2000s.
Yeah, which is like
or late 2000s, I guess.
Mind blowing to know that like this kind of situation happened in today's day and age. That just blows my mind.
That is wild to me.
Yeah. But we talk about other funny things in crim law. Like, there was a hypothetical that our teacher proposed where it's like, so, Christian, suppose that you...
Is this where we put big, like, flashers on the screen? Like, hypothetical, don't come arrest Christian.
This was purely hypothetical.
Allegedly, hypothetically, theoretically.
None of this is real, all made up by our professor that just snowballed.
Yeah.
So it's like, Christian, allegedly... give Hayley this package, and in this package is an illegal substance. Hayley takes
it's wrapped
that
up in a present. That was the other thing.
Oh, so that was my argument. So it was like, you give Hayley this box, she puts it in her car, gets pulled over, Hayley's got the drugs. And I was all, how do I get out of this? It's wrapped up, present, bow, everything hasn't been unwrapped. I didn't know it was in it. I didn't know. That's how I get out of it. But like, stuff like that, that's what makes me like crim law so much, is it's just so random.
Yeah, and some of the hypotheticals, like we have a really cool professor, like he's like entirely hypothetical. He doesn't use slides, doesn't lecture, he just comes in. He
is the Socratic method.
Yeah, like sure. He comes in, starts asking a question, and then just goes from there. And he keeps asking questions, and by the end of the day, like I think we have one alleged hatchet murder in our class, like we have another person who... like, allegedly, I don't know, almost made cars crash by putting things in the road.
Oh,
like,
good grief,
we got the whole 9
lot
yards.
of issues, yeah. So all of us are allegedly criminals of some sort.
Basically, yeah. By the end of class, we will be.
Yeah, exactly, which I think is absolutely hilarious. But I want to say that same kid, this is like totally switching gears, that same kid who was telling me about property law and how much he loved it, I am friends with him on Facebook, and I saw him post the other day. And he goes, I forget exactly how it goes, but essentially he was like, yeah, someone asked me how much I would charge for legal advice. I told him $60 an hour, and he didn't bat an eye. I'm all, whoa. Mm-hmm. $60 an hour. That's pretty good money, especially as a 1L. I was like, I don't know what kind of advice this kid's giving out or what's going on there, but I was like, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. That's pretty good. The job that you're applying for...
So the job that I'm applying for, it's like $20 an hour, but literally all I'm doing is like research. So it's like just as an intern, to get an intern job and be paid like more than a lot of people make just on their regular paychecks, I'm like, I'll take that.
That's pretty sweet.
And then I was talking to Hayley. So my family, we immigrated, and so my grandma just moved here about 2 or 3 years ago. My grandpa passed away, and we hired an immigration attorney to kind of do her paperwork. And immigration attorneys, to do like paperwork, they'll charge you like a flat fee. So first of all, it's like $3,000 for her just to do like paperwork. Jeez, and now that I like look back at the forms, I'm like, I totally could have done this. Like, super easy. And then luckily we didn't have any issues. I mean, my grandma had citizen relatives and yada yada. So, and I mean, she's like a 70-year-old lady. She's not obviously going to pose a threat to the United States. So they let her in. It went really smoothly. But if you had like an issue, that attorney charges, I think it was either $200 or $300 an hour that they have to work on your case.
Can you imagine your time being worth that kind of money? Like, I think now...
Like, you work an 8-hour day and it's like $2,400.
I want to like think about this. The federal minimum wage, $7 an hour. Think about that. Like, you go from $7 an hour to your time then being worth $300 an hour.
Yeah.
That's
incredible. That's just like an idea. I mean, if you're one of those cases, one of those attorneys that works for, you know, a big firm that's handling lawsuits for like Apple or Google, and they're suing each other for $1 billion, and you get even 10% of that to split amongst yourselves, like...
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of money to be made in law.
That's very true. It's almost like compensation for all of the emotional stress that you go through.
I think that's why
in law school.
Yeah, either that's why we're willing to put up with it, or that's why we charge that much, is because law school is
the world's
hell.
Like, okay, we're going to pay you really well because of all the suffering that you endured.
Yeah.
Like, here basically. You go. Exactly.
Basically, it's like doctors get paid for preventing suffering, we get paid because we suffer.
Exactly. Like, your lives are miserable for the rest of us, so here's a lot of money.
There you go.
At least, like, when you go home after your 12-hour workday, you got a nice bed to sleep in and a nice car to drive. Right. There you go.
Yeah.
I think it's also funny, too. Well, I've talked a lot about property law in this podcast, but in property law...
Plot twist, Hayley becomes a property attorney.
Can you imagine? Someone's gonna, like, play this back when I'm sitting in my office one day and be like, Hayley,
you're like writing wills and estates.
Oh, I would cry if I had to. Oh man, that would be rough. Someone would really have to sell me on a job to get me to do that. I don't know. But so Christian and I have different property classes, so we were learning about different things at the beginning of the year. So he was worrying about like estates and lands. Oh my gosh, yeah.
There are these things called life estates. I don't even want to begin to explain them because, to be honest, I still don't understand them.
Yeah, it's just understand that that's probably. I think my teacher said that it's the worst thing that you'll learn in law school. She said, I understand that. I admit that it is the ugliest, worst thing that you will have to learn. Sorry. But Christian learned that at the very beginning of the semester. We just started that. But right before we started it, my teacher decided to give us, she said, property goes to the movies. And gave us 2 days of class where we didn't have to be on call, which was awesome. And then it was just lecture days. And she played a ton of clips from movies and essentially ruined movies for us. Because she was like, so I'm going to play you the clip of this movie and tell you why that's wrong as far as property goes. So she plays us this clip from Indiana Jones. And I'm all, oh, Indiana Jones, dope. Like, I love Disney. Wow, love all that. So I was so excited. I was like, yeah, I love Indiana Jones.
Is Indiana Jones Disney?
There's a ride at Disneyland called Indiana Jones. I think they bought it later on. I don't think it was the first couple weren't, but then later on. I swear. Why would Disney have a ride at Disneyland if it wasn't theirs?
I don't know. I feel like they've had rides of other things that they don't necessarily own. Like Star Wars. They had a Star Wars ride way before they bought Star Wars.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
A long time before. Because they just bought Star Wars like a couple years ago, and they've had a Star Wars ride there since I went when I was like 12.
How?
I think they just can. Like, they make agreements with the other studios.
Okay, then. Never mind.
So I don't know if Indiana Jones is. But anyways.
In any case, actually, I know that one of them is. At least the most recent one has to be. Disney had to have bought Indiana Jones. Okay. I swear.
It's possible.
Okay. But anyway, where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So she plays this clip of Indiana Jones. I have never seen the movies or not all of them. I'm sitting here like, oh, I love Indiana Jones so much. But I haven't. I don't watch movies. In any case, so she plays this whole clip and Indiana's like running around on this train because he's stolen this little like relic or something. And he's like, oh my gosh, I got it, blah, blah, blah. And everyone's like, wow, that was so great. And then we get to the end of this clip and she's like, okay, so who owns that? Like, whose property is that? I was like, oh, what? You're going to make me dissect
Indiana what's Jones? Sad about that? I think I've ruined movies for people because I do that. I will literally sit there.
What ruined you?
It like you can't ever watch a movie because I'll be sitting there watching movies with my husband or with my family, and like someone does something, and I'm like, you can't do that. Or like the police will just arrest someone, I'm like, they needed a warrant for that, and like just stuff like that. Like you can't watch movies.
Yeah, don't watch movies with a law
unless you
like. Student.
Like, you really have to put everything aside, because really, so much is wrong in movies, and I know we all know that, but so much is wrong.
And I even watched that show, How to Get Away with Murder, after our first semester. When I went home for winter break, I just binged that whole thing, and I was sitting there the whole time, and I was like, that's wrong. Nope. That's wrong.
Oh my gosh, the scene in Legally Blonde where she goes with Jennifer Coolidge's character, Elle Woods goes with Jennifer Coolidge's character to get the dog, and she's like, I'm representing her and something because of habeas corpus, and I'm like, okay, A, you get kicked out of law school because you're not allowed to pretend you're a lawyer. Yeah. That's like pretending to be a doctor when you're a med student.
Yeah.
B, habeas corpus has nothing to do with divorce law. Like, just all this stuff, I'm just like, no.
Wrong. All of it wrong. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I noticed, and this was super nerdy, but Ariana Grande's Thank You Next video, she actually has a real law book in the scenes that she's trying to be held in.
Chemerinsky.
Yeah, the Chemerinsky series, and it's like about what's it called? It's about like immigration and refugee law. It's an actual book, which so I loved.
Awesome. Yeah. But I was gonna say, guys, we're gonna cut this podcast a little bit short. Christian and I got memos to write, and let me tell you, persuasive memos this semester, not my favorite thing in the world. I've been working on mine this weekend because it's due on Tuesday, and
yeah, I've been working on mine too.
It's ugly.
I was up to like till like 1 last night.
It's rough. It's a little rough. I do like it better than the one that we had to write last semester because at least in this one we get to argue our point. But let me tell you, it's ugly.
It's rough.
So thank you guys for listening to this. Pray for us. Send some good juju out into the universe because we're gonna need it. And we'll see you on the next one.
Share with your friends, family,
give us
pets,
5 stars.
children.
Like this when you're studying for the LSAT. Go ahead and like flip this on and get some motivation and get hyped up and excited.
Don't take the LSAT.
Don't take the LSAT. Don't go to law school. Save yourselves. We're all miserable. Like blink twice if you're okay. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
We'll see ya.